I'm Adam Zawadzkis, and I'm training for my first 100-mile race in July 2023. This is my weekly series covering each run from week 51 to week 77 of my ultramarathon training plan, spanning almost a year and a half. This is how week 53 went. Kicking the week off with a bang, it was time to head back to the trails to hit a high-intensity hill repeat workout. I usually do hills on Monday because I have more time before work than I do on Tuesdays. Today's workout consisted of a 2-mile warm-up, followed by 7 uphill sprint repeats, which consisted of about 300 meters of sprinting and 500 meters of active recovery jogging. Then I did 7 more uphill repeats at a moderate tempo effort, same distance. Tied it all off with a 2-mile cooldown. The intention of this workout is similar to a track session, where it essentially teaches your body to clear out lactate from your blood more efficiently between repetitions. Overall, this workout was not as effective as I was expecting, as the day before and overnight there was a lot of snow melt that accumulated and rolled down the hill, and it refroze, creating an ice slide. Therefore, there was a limit to how fast I could go uphill until I started to experience diminishing returns and slip more than I was moving forward. This meant I couldn't run as fast as I initially intended and didn't get into or stay in that anaerobic zone every time on the uphills. I also changed the downhill repeats I originally planned on doing into those lower intensity uphill repeats, as I decided it was way too dangerous to bomb down an ice slide 7 times. I did get some serious work in though, as my body had to work harder to find footing, so this was more of a good workout for strengthening the musculoskeletal system instead of cardiovascular. I also still had fun with this workout and was happy to not be freezing my hiney off like last week's track session. On Tuesday, the calendar called for a nice, easy 12 miles at a zone 2 heart rate. Upon stepping outside, everything was lit up pretty well by the moon, so that was cool. It definitely beats the overcast that I'm used to at this point of the year. I picked a route I haven't run in a couple of weeks to keep it interesting. I know I've mentioned running at a zone 2 heart rate for all of my easy runs, and what that means is I aim to keep my perceived effort easy, which translates to a heart rate of between 148 and 157 for me. In this zone, I can breathe easily, relax, and hold a long conversation with someone next to me. My paces vary quite a bit while running in the zone, as there is a huge list of factors that can contribute to a higher rate of perceived effort, like high winds, big hills, being sick, or a poor night's sleep, to name a few. These can lead to a higher heart rate than usual on some runs, but sometimes it can be lower. The key is to be patient with this type of training and enjoy the runs themselves. Progress in fitness isn't linear, but more of an ascending zigzag. Overall, this was a good run, and nothing at all happened. Just a very quiet morning with no shenanigans, which I'm more than happy to take. On Wednesday, one of my friends hit me up for a 7-mile run, so I drove down to the towpath trails to meet him. It was a good time catching up after several months apart and learning about his details on his plan to run an Ironman this summer. Way to go, man. I never thought I would find a running buddy that would want to run at 4 in the morning, but I'm grateful I did. I'll be running with him more often for sure. The weather was nice too, as it was not too freezing and there was no wind at all, so that's always good. This run flew by and was a very quick one too, at an 8 flat minute per mile pace average at the zone 2 low heart rate range. It was also on this day, February 8th, a year ago, that I ran my first run that started this entire journey. So I took some time to reflect today on how far I've come. A year ago, I could barely run 1 mile, and here I am running 7 like it's nothing while having a full conversation. Consistency is key. Moving on to Thursday, I geared up to knock out a 7-mile steady-state run workout. This workout consisted of 1 warm-up mile, followed by 5 miles at threshold pace, finished off with a cool-down mile. When I say threshold pace, I'm referring to the fastest pace I can run against the point at which the body switches from using its aerobic system, where the body uses oxygen efficiently to keep going, to its anaerobic system, where it's working so hard it cannot get enough oxygen to support the intensity of exercise it's being asked to sustain. For me, this pace range is roughly 6 to 6:30 minutes per mile. The goal of this workout is to ride that line and feel very uncomfortable for an extended period of time, which overall teaches your body to be able to sustain that kind of pace and overall increases your VO2 max after consistently pulling these workouts off. I didn't record this one as it is one where I have to be really dialed in, and I was happy with the results. This one burned for sure, but there's no feeling like finishing up a hard but successful workout. Now, Friday was day 1 of 2 of this week's back-to-back long run weekend. Friday called for 17 miles, while Saturday called for 16. Today I was feeling some wide open trails and some climbing, so I chose a course that was pretty hilly but not too technical. The only drawback to this choice was the mud and puddles everywhere, but once again, I'm used to this kind of thing in an Ohio February. I saw a ton of wildlife out on this run, probably because yesterday was in the 60s and woke all of them up, because I haven't seen this much activity since October. Unfortunately, of course, all the animals showed up when I didn't have the camera out. It was also raining quite steadily when I was driving to the trailhead, but luckily it turned into snow flurries as I got there and eventually stopped precipitating at all. So this week I have gotten extremely lucky with the weather. Overall, this was another good run, and the point of doing 2 longer runs over 2 hours in length in a row is to get used to running for a long time with tired legs. In an ultramarathon that can take up to 30 hours to run, chances are you won't feel fresh for that entire time, so you have to condition your body and mind to be able to keep pushing even if you're a bit tired or your legs feel a bit stiff. Now, this back-to-back plan isn't supposed to be so difficult I can't recover for next week's runs, but to give me enough of a challenge to know what it's like to run while a bit fatigued. And before I knew it, 17 miles done and ready for the next long run. The next morning on Saturday, I decided to stay in the area and run on the long run course I trained on every week last summer for my first marathon. Starting off, I felt incredibly stiff and tired from yesterday, which is expected. The main problem area was the back of my right knee, around the tendon that connects the hamstring to the calf on the inside. It was a soreness due to muscle tightness that I'm used to feeling elsewhere, and usually just means that area of the body needs extra care and attention when it comes to stretching, rolling out, and strengthening. So that area is what I'll be focusing on next week, whereas this week it was my shins, and those are now feeling way better than they were a couple weeks ago. This run went well and brought back some fond memories of burning that 3 a.m. oil last year every weekend. Not much has changed since then. I also tried out a new brand of gels on this run that is considered the most popular one, Goo, and I really enjoyed them. I will go into more detail on long run nutrition next week, so look forward to that. Towards the end of this run, I picked the pace up a bit as my pack got lighter and I was feeling looser and felt great. I ran it in and completed the last 16 miles, feeling good, but excited for a much-needed rest day. To conclude, this week went very well. I can tell my body has improved drastically and can hold much faster paces at a lower level of perceived effort. This is important because I can achieve a faster time during long races while not expending any extra energy to go faster. Running with a friend this week was awesome, and even though Monday's workout was kind of janky, Thursday's performance made up for it. This week totaled 70.06 miles of volume, and we are now 5 weeks out from the 50-mile race, and there's still quite a bit of work to be done. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a really great week. I'll catch you in the next one.